All right, back to our regular scheduled programming. Speaking at a virtual meeting of the Peacebuilding Commission on the his Common Agenda report and the new agenda for peace, the Secretary General said the choices we make today could result in further breakdown or breakthrough to a better, more sustainable future. He highlighted areas that require particular effort and attention, such as a recommitment to the non-use of nuclear weapons and a timetable for their progressive elimination. He also told members of the Commission that we need to recognize the links between all forms of violence, as well as to strengthen strategic foresight and capacities to identify and manage new risks. The Secretary General also said we need to massively invest in prevention and peace building and also put women and girls at the center of our efforts. His full remarks were shared with you. As you may have heard, Geir Pedersen, the Special Envoy for Syria, told a journalist in Geneva spoke to a journalist in Geneva just a few moments ago, and he detailed the agreements over the course of the past 5 days. He detailed the agreements reached over the course of the past 5 days and said there were ups and downs over the week, and he called today's discussion a big disappointment, which he said we did not achieve what we had hoped to achieve. The Special Envoy said that all sides did not come to a common understanding today, adding that in the end we would need an understanding among all three delegations on commonalities which have not been reached. There's also been no agreement to a date of the next discussions. Quick update on the travels of Jean-Pierre Lacroix, the head of the Peacekeeping Department. And as you know, he's in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. He is in Goma today, where he's meeting with the military governor of North Kivu to discuss the political and humanitarian situation and the mission's support to the Congolese army against armed groups to address the security challenges. He's also meeting with mission staff to express his support and appreciation for their work. In Kinshasa earlier the week, Mr. Lacroix met with President Félix Tshisekedi to discuss the security and political situation in the country. In his meetings with representatives from civil society organizations and political parties, he reiterated the hope for a transparent and appeased process towards the 2023 presidential elections. Mr. Lacroix will conclude his visit to the DRC in Beni on Sunday, where he will meet with peacekeepers in charge of the operations there. Also traveling is Assistant Secretary General Miroslav Jenča, who today wrapped up a 4-day visit to Bosnia and Herzgovina. He met with members of the presidency as well as the foreign minister, leaders of political parties and civil society organizations, among others. Mr. Jenča reiterated the Secretary General's call for redoubling of efforts towards strengthening reconciliation, trust, mutual understanding, and social cohesion. In particular, he stressed the need for enhanced constructive dialogue amongst all communities as a necessary basis for finding sustainable solutions to the peaceful and prosperous future of the country. Mr. Jenča also noted the Secretary General's call to all those in a position of power to refrain from denying the seriousness of all atrocity crimes, including genocide, war crimes, and crimes against humanity that have been adjudicated by international justice institutions. And moving on to Afghanistan, our humanitarian colleagues telling us that between September 1st and October 15th, just a few days ago, we, along with our partners, have provided 4 million people with food assistance in the country. We've also reached 790,000 people with primary health care, provided treatment for acute malnutrition to more than 85,000 children, and supported more than 27,000 people with psychosocial services. In addition, we assisted 165,000 drought-affected people with water trucking, reached more than 39,000 children with community-based education activities, and supported nearly 54,000 people with standard non-food assistance. The humanitarian community in Afghanistan remains concerned about attempts to leverage humanitarian assistance for political purposes. Humanitarian action should never be conditioned on political, development, human rights, or other non-humanitarian objectives. Donors are urged to ensure that transactions and other activities required for humanitarian operations are excluded from the scope of sanctions regime to allow humanitarian activities to continue without any impediments. The flash appeal we've been telling you about remains at about 45 100% funded. We continue to urge donors to convert pledges into hard cash. Turning to Haiti, colleagues across the street at UNICEF say that more children and women have been abducted for ransom between January and August this year than during the entire year of 2020. According to UNICEF estimates, based on official sources, 71 women, 30 children were abducted in the first 8 months of this year. Last year, 59 women and 37 children were abducted. If you look at the total numbers, so far this year, according to UNICEF, 455 kidnappings have been reported. As a comparison, in all of 2020, there were 234. Most of the kidnappings are taking place in Port-au-Prince, and the vast majority of them are Haitians. UNICEF said to improve the reporting of incidents and the assistance to children in need, they supported the reactivation of a free hotline operated by the National Child Protection Agency. This line is to be used alongside a helpline for the Brigade for the Protection of Minors. The agency urges all relevant actors to refrain from targeting children and women and calls upon the government of Haiti to take action needed to address gang violence against children. UNICEF is also giving us an update from Myanmar, where they continue to step up their efforts to help tens of thousands of women and children across the country. UNICEF and partners have reached 47,000 children under the age of 5, as well as thousands of pregnant and lactating mothers with nutritional support supplements, including in camps for internally displaced people. UNICEF continues to seek humanitarian access to all areas affected by conflict. To provide health and nutrition assistance, we again call on all parties concerned to ensure that humanitarian access so that people who are displaced or otherwise impacted can receive help. A quick update on COVID from Iran. Our UN team, there led by resident coordinator Stéphane Prisner, continues to support authorities' response to the health, humanitarian, and socioeconomic needs of those in the pandemic, impacted by the pandemic. We're also focusing on helping the most vulnerable people, including refugees, undocumented Afghans who've been living in Iran for years, and thousands of people who've recently crossed into Iran from Afghanistan. Our team says that daily death rates are declining as more people are getting vaccinated. WHO says more than 72 million vaccines have been administered so far, easing pressure on hospitals and healthcare. The UN team helped to deliver more than 12 million doses of vaccines through COVAX, and Iran also received 1 million doses bilaterally. We're working to secure the donations of more vaccines, including a significant number for Afghan refugees through COVAX, and we are there to help with the logistics to store vaccines. The mission in Mali is telling us that Human Rights and Protection Divisions concluded a 3-day visit to Gao yesterday. Our colleagues there were there to assess the deterioration of the security situation and the impact on human rights, with a particular focus of violations and abuses committed against civilians. The delegations met with regional authorities, traditional and religious leaders, as well as members of civil society and young people. The goal of the visit was to find consensus on the need to work in synergy and to avoid a protection crisis and improve protection of civilians. I was asked 2 questions on Libya yesterday, one on monitors, and I can tell you that yesterday on the 21st, we proceeded with the initial deployment to Tripoli of a small team of UN ceasefire monitors tasked with supporting the Libyan ceasefire monitoring mechanism. They will work in concert with the Libyan monitors assigned by the 5+5 Joint Military Commission. Additional monitors will be deployed incrementally in tandem with Libyan monitors of the Libyan-led monitoring mechanism, including in Sirte, once the necessary security and logistical arrangements are in place. And on foreign fighters, I think it was Ray, you had asked me about the foreign fighters in Libya. Following the October 8th agreement of the 5+5 Joint Military Committee on a comprehensive action plan for the gradual, balanced, and sequenced process of withdrawal of mercenaries, foreign fighters, and foreign forces from Libya, further to the 21st October ministerial meeting chaired by the foreign minister in Tripoli, we hope that the international community will offer strong support for the implementation of the action plan, including from countries in the region. Sunday is World Development Information Day. The day aims to draw attention of the world to development problems and the need to strengthen international cooperation to solve them. And I want to flag to you that Sunday is also the first day of Disarmament Week, as well as the start of the Global Media Information Literacy Week. And more importantly, Sunday is what day? What day is October 24th? You are good. October 24th is United Nations Day. In his message for the day, the Secretary General highlights that 76 years ago, the UN was created as a vehicle of hope for a world emerging from the shadows of catastrophic conflict. Today, he said, the women and men of the UN carry this hope forward around the globe. The Secretary General noted that COVID-19 conflicts, hunger, poverty, and climate emergency remind us that our world is far from perfect. But they also make clear that solidarity is the only way forward. The Secretary General says that the values that have powered the UN for the last 76 years, peace, development, human rights, and opportunity for all, have no expiry date. Mr. Guterres calls on all to unite behind the ideals, live up to the full promise, potential, and hope of the UN. And on Monday, we will have a briefing by the UNDP Administrator, Achim Steiner, who will brief on the results of UNDP's People's Climate Vote and the new insights from G20 countries. Edie.
Thank you, Steph. Does the Secretary General have any reaction to the flight to Mekelle being aborted by airstrikes? And has he been in contact with officials on the ground in the government?
Contacts with officials continue at various levels. I have no new. I mean, as you know, the Secretary General is often on the phone with Prime Minister Abiy. That's not happened today, as far as I know. I think this illustrates just one more example of the direct impact of conflict on our humanitarian operations. Plain and simple. Right now, our flights are suspended. You heard from Gemma the lack of access for fuel trucks, for cash, all the basic necessities that fuel our humanitarian operations so we can help the millions of people in Tigray that are in desperate need of help. Madame.
Stéphane, in Mali, the people responsible for the violation of human rights, are they the mercenaries or who are they, mainly?
The people responsible for the violations of human rights in Mali are all those, and I would say I think I could use the term men because I think the vast majority are men, who use weapons in violations of every international norm, who use weapons to violate the most basic human rights of people. And I would refer you to the various human rights reports that the mission has put out.
But are the mercenaries involved?
I would again refer you to the reports that we've put out, which are clear and public. Okay, yes, Alan.
Thank you, Stéphane. The authorities of Kosovo today announced that they are expelling 2 Russian diplomats from Pristina. And Moscow already said that those, first of all, Moscow doesn't recognize independence of Kosovo, and second, those diplomats were working under the auspices of UNMIK, so they were credited by UNMIK, so Pristina doesn't have the right to expel them. What's the position of
Let me look, and if you can send me some details, I will have a look as soon as the briefing's over, because I had not seen that report.
Thank you.
Okay. If anyone on the virtual screen has a question, fine. I will not wait any longer, and I will leave the space to Madame Monica to speak on behalf of the GA President, and I wish you all a wonderful weekend.